Before I speak, I do want to make this statement. I do want to address what's going on in the sense of the racial unrest that is going on in the world. And I've chosen not to do it today for a reason, because I'm still processing it. And if I talk today, I would talk out of my anger. I would talk out of my disappointment. I would talk from everywhere that I don't want to talk from. I want to talk to you from my spirit, from my heart, from my higher transcendent self. Therefore, I want to come to a place where I'm not being reactive, but I'm being proactive. So either Wednesday or next Sunday, I will be addressing this, but I need a little bit more time to process this, because I feel that all of us, and I think ministers could play such a powerful place and role in what is going on today if we can help to guide people from a transcendent spiritual understanding of this and not be caught into the lower, smaller picture of what seems to be going on, but what is the good that we talk about. What is the spiritual plan or purpose that we say we believe in, that all things work together? Do we believe it or not? This is the time your beliefs are being challenged to see, are they matching up with your innate intelligence? If it's not, then we have some work to do. So this is the time that judgment begins at the house of God. That's a tough scripture, but if you translate it, judgment there means order. Doesn't mean punishment or right or wrong. It means a time in which a sovereign order is set. And you've given permission from that. As I've taught you, you're not victims of God even. You are co-creators with God. And before you came here with divine intelligence, you have set a plan out. And you have said yes to that plan. And you have signed spiritually those contracts and those agreements. And that's what's going to take you through this in a way that is going to come out on the other side as a more enlightened being in a human experience. And the more that we know who we are, the more we can raise our human experience to a much higher level. And this is what's going to have to happen. So I'm not going to get into all that yet, but I do want to address it. I do have some things that are coming forth into my heart and my spirit that I want to talk to you about. Today is our 6th power in the 12 powers that we are addressing here. And this is the week for imagination. Imagination. And in spiritual life, imagination has 2 different meanings. First, it is a human faculty, the part of us that traffics in images, symbols, myths, and stories. It is the capacity we all have for innovative thinking and creative expression. Secondly, the imagination is an inner reality, a boundless realm not defined by our senses or reason that we know from our dreams and can enter through certain exercises while awake, such as visualization exercises that we've all been a part of and have been taught throughout metaphysics. Is the power of visualizing is very important. The practice of imagination encourages us to use this faculty, enables us to explore higher realms of reality that is available to us today. So there will be a handout available to all of you who want it when you leave here, a little bit about how that you really can practice your imagination in an exercise of some kind and take it home with you, and I hope you'll do that. Albert Einstein gives us one of the greatest probably quotes that says, imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. And as you know, there is even a building at Disney World that is dedicated only to the House of Imagination, in which this quote is out in front of it. Knowledge is, imagination is greater than knowledge, of Einstein's quote, has been made very famous. David Bohm was the protege of Einstein. Now, it's interesting to mention these names because if I mentioned Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jesus, Paul, all of the Bible people, from any of you that came from Bible teaching religions and churches, you would recognize those names. But one of the things that bothers me about people who have based their faith in the limitations of the Bible only is that we've not recognized the manifestations of the divine throughout different epochs of time after the Bible is recorded. God didn't stop speaking in the last verse of the chapter of Revelations of the Bible and retired. But the divine God, the Creator, has continued to manifest itself in the unfolding of every epoch of time, every generation, every civilization, every culture. There's been that manifestation of God in a human form. And sometimes when we speak of those, people are like, I've never heard of these people. Because we do too much worship in retrospect. We go way back thousands of years ago to those that we knew, Jesus, Buddha, whatever. As great as they were, let's move forward into even present time. Who and where is God manifesting in present time? Through human form and experience. That's what's important to us. And that's called present truth. There was a truth of thousands of years ago, but there's a truth of your time. And that's that truth that we need that will get us through this time is the presence of God in our time. The truth in our time that is breaking through and coming down. And that's why we who are in the position of being in spiritual leadership, we need to really get out of the way and only facilitate what the Spirit is saying to the community or the church today. Because there's a word that is breaking through that will empower us and allow us to see this from a completely different dimension of consciousness. One of my favorite books that has made a tremendous difference in my life over 20 years ago as I was being moved into energy work and sound and vibration is the book called Holographic Universe by Michael Talbert. A fantastic book. Highly recommend it. And I want to share a little bit from that book. It can also have an equally powerful effect on the body's physiology, talking about imagination. A state of affairs that has been experienced firsthand by anyone who has ever felt their heart race after imagining hugging a loved one. Or anyone who's ever felt their palms grow sweaty after conjuring up the memory of some unusual, frightening experience. At first glance, the fact that the body cannot always distinguish between imagined events and real ones may seem strange. But when one takes the holographic model into account, a model that asserts that all experiences, whether real or imagined, are reduced to the same common language of the holographic organized waveforms, the situation becomes less puzzling. Or, as Archibald puts it, I quote, when images are regarded in the holographic manner, their omnipotent influence on the physical function logically follows. This is the genius of truly etheric energy work that is circling the world today. The healers, quote unquote, I use that in quotes, the healers of today are moving from just working with the physical body and its effects of disease and illness to working in the unseen aspect of the physical body that is not seen by the five senses, which is called an etheric blueprint. And as I've taught Some Energetics, and I've taught you here, that we from Some Energetics sees this totally backwards than the majority of 99% of people who believe the body has an energy field or an aura. To an aura, an energy field has a body. We've gone from the wrong way because the ego sees matter first. It's an old school of thought that's thousands of years ago that there is matter and there is a field of energy. But now we know that that matter is made of energy. It's energy coming in to become physical. And there's a part of that physical part of you that I cannot see with my five senses called an etheric part of you that is before your physical body, not from your physical body, but it is before your physical body. I was just reading today about how that we get a new stomach lining every 2 or 3 days. We get a new liver in 5-6 weeks. We get our body is constantly in flux of remaking itself all the time. Before you leave here, millions of cells will have died and replaced themselves before you walk out that door today. Now my slowed down five senses doesn't see that because it takes pictures of the action. Imagine somebody up here doing an expressive dance before us. And you get your phone out and you say, oh, that is so beautiful. And you click it. What do? You stop the movement. You stop the dance. And you hold it and capture it in a picture. This is what our brain does. As tremendous as brains are, they're so slow that they only take pictures of the dance of life. Making it this is as different from that, and that is different from this, and so on and so forth. And we see a world of separation of particles rather than joining with that under field where it all comes from. Call it God, call it Creator, call it field, call it what you want to, but it is the ground of creation that is within itself. The image, the behavior, the physiological contaminants are a unified aspect of the same phenomena. Now David Bohm, the protege, uses this idea of the implicate order. Implicate means the outer. You've heard of exoteric, there's different. There's an inner and there's an outer order. The implicate order, the deeper and non-local level existence from which our entire universe springs. To echo the sentiment, every action starts from an intention in the implicate order. I'll say that again. Everything starts from an intention in the inner implicate order. The imagination is already the creation of the form. So we think this is the form, but it's what you formed in here that's the form out here. If you form it in here, it's going to be formed out here. But yet, modern medicine and Western medicine all comes from the fact, let's heal the body, let's take care of the body. Either we cut it out or fix it. It's the old Newtonian clockwork idea that we're a bunch of clocks with parts. And either you fix the part or you take the part out. But that's changing today as we're realizing that if we want to work with form and effect, we've got to start with the cause of what formed it. Are you with me? Yeah. The power of etheric consciousness is where it starts. That's been the challenge we've had for over 20 years of tooting forks around off the body. The brain doesn't get it. It doesn't understand it. That's empty space. That's just nothing. Put it on my body. I want to feel it. And we have those too. But we understand that so much of what shows up in your physiology was a mispatterning in your etheric 9 months to a year before it ever happened. Wouldn't it make sense that we moved more toward preventive medicine? More toward preventive medicine. And if we already have something going on in the physical, trace it back to what caused it. What mispatterning of an emotion, memory, or experience that has been non-resolved and suppressed into the unconscious that is showing up on the body. Take this individually, take it collectively. This is what you're witnessing. This is what you're witnessing. You are witnessing all the toxicity of hatred, prejudice, and racism, sexism, and every ism that there is. Fear-based religions and all that have been suppressed and suppressed and suppressed us, the real us, until the toxicity of these things cannot be held any longer in the inner worlds of the subconscious. But they are emerging upon the body politic itself. What's going on today is not just affecting us here in Charlotte or in North Carolina or even the United States of America, but it is planetary reaction that is going on. Australia, England, all over the world, people. Because this is planetary time. This is planetary healing, preparing us for a planetary Pentecost. Planned for a Pentecost. And what is the Pentecost? It's the day the Spirit fell upon all people of all different cultures, languages. Everybody was represented in that 120 in that upper room. They didn't know what they were there for, but all of a sudden the Spirit came and a mighty sound happened out of heaven. And a Spirit came down and they were all filled so much with the Spirit that they knew each other's language. No longer were they separate and in confusion. They tapped into the language of the divine, the language of the soul, the universal language of we are one. And that was truly the beginning of the New Testament church. It was on the day of Pentecost. Why Pentecost? Because it was a Hebrew feast day. And you know what happened on that day? Because Pente means 50. Every 50 years, the debts were canceled, all slaves were freed, and everything started all over again. Doesn't that sound good? I don't know why these Judeo-Christians don't practice the Bible that they will fight you over. And understand that every so often we need to just clear everything and start again and be born again, and then 50 years be born again and be born again until we finally become a new creation. A rebirthed humanity that's in synchronization with the authenticity of who we are. I love this. The imagination is already the creation of the form. It already has the intention and the germs of all the movements needed to carry it out. And it affects the body and so on, so that as a creation takes place in that way from the subtler levels of the implicate order, it goes through them until it manifests in the outer, explicit part of you. In other words, the implicate order, as in the brain itself, imagination and reality are ultimately indistinguishable. That is so powerful. Now it's interesting, and you know I've done my best to bring the Bible into a different level of consciousness than out of the old third dimension religious consciousness. Because everything that I read about imagination in the Bible is imagination is evil. Yeah. They are taught in Christianity imagination is of the devil. There's nothing in there good about imagination. I've looked. Old Testament, New Testament, it doesn't matter. But it talks about imagination precedes evil. That's sad to me. But I'm so suspect of everything religion has made us afraid of. Has made me want to go into it and check it out. Like the 666. How many people are scared to death when they see 666? They won't stay in a room that says 666. They won't do this because it's a cultural world fear based upon those three numbers. Why would they make us fearful? Because they know that in the human cell where there's 6 electrons, 6 protons, and 6 neutrons, in that empty space of field is an intelligence, and if they waken that intelligence, they're going to grow out of religion. They're going to grow out of this church, this church idea of the literalism of the word. Another one is the 144,000. If you've been Jehovah's Witness, you're out there beating on those doors because you want to earn your way to be a part of the 144,000 that gets close to God. They don't realize that one of every 5 verses in the Bible is about a number. That it addresses us back to the language of the universe, which is mathematics. So if you take that in numerology and put 1 plus 4 is 5 and 4 is 9, and realize that 9 is completion, it's saying that 144,000 are the first fruits who have finished all their incarnations in the 3rd dimension, and they have moved forward as the light workers of the world. It's a vibration of 9. Different, huh? Talk about a shift in consciousness. And that's been my calling for all my life, is to rescue. Not to throw the Bible away and throw the teachings of Christianity away, but to bring it into another dimension and realm. And you know, to go up, I had to go down inside of me. To go into it, I had to go beyond the symbolism of the Bible, the letter of the Bible. I had to go into the metaphysics of the Bible, the spiritual application of the Bible, the spiritual codings of the Bible. It's a coded book. But they've made us, many of us who have been hurt in those religions and been disillusioned in those religions, had made us want us to just throw it in the trash can. Not me. I held on in there. Even though on the literal side, it condemned me. The person that I am. A part of me was lost and suppressed because of what the Bible literally says about people like me. And you're going to see that this is why there has been the power of slavery and servants and masters and all these things. It's found in the Bible, in the literalism of the Bible. Do you think these things are going to change? Homophobia, racism is going to change without the changing of a consciousness? We don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and the unseen. The origin of imagination starts with creation. The one we call the Creator, it only becomes the Creator when it created. It was not a creator of itself. It became a creator in its creation. Just as I became a parent and a father in my daughter. It was in me all along. But until I made something and extended myself outside of myself and shared my DNA and my chromosomes, my information, did I not know who I was outside of myself. But today I can look at my daughter, I can look at my grandson especially, and see me in my creation. And they made me become dad. They made me become puppy. I could have never been that without them. How did God do this? By imagining itself. I've often said that who you truly are in the essence and the spirit of your being is God's idea of itself. Its own experience of self-realization. When the infinite, and you got to understand that behind the words God, behind mother, father, behind creator, there is the void of no thing, which is the field of everything. Do you get that? Yeah. You got to go to the void of the no thing. I didn't say nothing. I said the no thing. Before anything was anything, it came out of a field of possibility to become that thing. Are you with me? Yeah. So that's where I lose any words to call it. I have no language for it. It is non-local, undefinable. A consciousness that had an interaction with itself. When it was that which we call the infinite said, I am an existing one. You were. You were God's idea of itself. Huh? That's why you're created in divine mind. Divine mind created you as an idea of itself. That's why the idea is perfect, because that which created it was perfect. It wasn't a step down at that point. It was an extension of that which it was, equal that which it became. And that's why you hold a part of yourself that is whole, beautiful, magnificent, and perfect as a divine idea in the mind that created you. Isn't that beautiful to understand that? I know we say those things, but to have a real understanding of how this happened. And the minute that God had an idea of itself, it said, I don't want to keep this idea inside of me. I'm going to extend this idea out of me. And it extended out of itself. And then that which he created, the divine idea extended outside, looked back at what created it. And what should have happened is that which created it was extended into that which had been created. But instead, we said, no, we'll create you. Oh, there's where the step down happened. We're not going to just be what created us. We're going to recreate you. And just as you created us in your image and likeness, see, you were created as an image to mirror that which God is. That's what we need to see in each other. We need to mirror the divine in each other until we see beyond gender, race, and all the things that identify us as just human bodies. And see. And when we do, we'll see the image of our face in each other. If I look into the face of a white person, a black person, an Asian person, a Latino person, it doesn't matter. I want to see the face of the Christ, which I am. But if I get stuck in the ego's world, I get stuck in the world of labels. So in the free will of things, the creation went back and said, I'm going to create you in my image and likeness. And at that point, we begin to lose. And we were what religion called lost. I once was lost. Now I'm found. We really got lost. We got lost and no longer could remember who we are. But here's the most beautiful thing, and I'm going to use A Course in Miracles here. I love this. It says, ideas never leave their source. I love that. It's one of my favorite quotes in A Course in Miracles. Ideas never leave their source. And I've used this 100 times. I get a great idea. Okay? And this idea is so good that some company, corporation says, we'd like to buy your idea for $1 million. I go, wow, that's really cool. I just made $1 million, 10 million, whatever, of my idea. But I love Rick. Rick's my buddy, good guy. I want to seem blessed. So I take my $1 million idea and extend it out of my mind, and now I give it to him into his mind. But Rick, coming from a lower human part of himself, ego says, well, David Holtz can have an idea to make $1 million. I bet you can take that idea and make $5 million. So Rick takes my idea in his head, has free will to do what he wants once it gets in his head. And he says, I don't think I agree with David in this. And I think I'll add that. And pretty soon, my idea in its pure state is lost in Rick's head. And when Rick goes to present it, nobody wants to buy it. But here's the beauty of what I'm telling you. It wasn't lost in my head. I'm the creator of the idea, and even though he messed it up and it's lost in Rick's head, it wasn't lost in the one who created it. That's why you are never lost in the mind of your Creator, but have always remained intact. I don't care what religion is telling you. You did not fall into original sin. You did not fall into separation. It's only a religious belief system, and when we buy into it, then we are in illusion. Let the truth make you free. The real you, be free from the prison of this humanity that has found itself in. I say today, salvation unto our God, because we've imprisoned the God part of ourselves into our own humanity. And then we go in and visit. You know, there's times when people are in jail or in prison, you go visit them, right? There's visitation days. So I'm not trying to put down going within and meditating and all of that, but I wonder sometimes, when are we going to stop going and visiting the prisoner rather than let the prisoner out? Huh? Make sense to you? I don't want God imprisoned in my heart and in my spirit so I can enjoy it through my personal meditation only. But I'm ready for this thing to come out and reorder the world. Fundamentalists say Jesus is coming because Jesus is going to set up a millennium, 1,000 years, and we're going to have a great new earth and a great new world when Jesus comes back in his cloud and on his white horse and all those kind of things. They don't realize that Christ hid itself in you. And the scripture says when he appears, you shall appear like him. That's a scripture. When Christ shall appear, you shall appear like him. This is why we have been gathered together. This is why you were brought out of your old religions and your early lower chakra teachings of spirituality. Why you've been brought out of it, because you've been gathered together to make up a critical mass of people. Created spaces like this for us to come and remember who we are. Once we remember who we are, then we begin to set the environment for the coming of Christ. The coming of Christ. The world is groaning for it. When I see what's going on, I hear the groaning of humanity. And it's groaning loud right now. Romans 8 says we're on tiptoe, groaning for the manifestation of the sons and daughters of God. It didn't say daughters, but I'm going to throw that in there. What it's saying is they're groaning for the manifestation of what religion has told them to believe without any demonstration. Yes, I think we need to do this demonstration. I'm trying not to get on this today. But yes, I'm for what's going on. It has to happen. But I'll tell you, the real demonstration is a demonstration of love. Manifesting itself and demonstrating itself through you and as you. And don't forget that in this time that you can be pulled down to start hating and start being angry and start projecting on people because of the color of their skin and all those kind of things. It is our place not to go there. We must face this from a transcendent place. This is what you've been prepared for 20, 30 years. Some of you, I don't know how long you've been into this, but a lot of years that you have been under metaphysical teachings. That was only the preparation for this day. Coming here to Heartlight, you that do, this is your strategic location. It's been assigned to you. And there's other locations, even in Charlotte. There's other locations in America. There's other locations all over the world where people have been drawn to be strategically a collective people. This is why I want to deal with this idea of allowing fear to keep us separate from each other too long until we adapt to it as a normal. Don't do it. Be cautious, but not fearful. Well, I see I'm not going to get very far with this today. The disciple for imagination is Bartholomew, which is also known as Nathaniel. And one of the things I want to bring out about this is it's the disciple that represents the power of imagination, because Jesus discerned Nathaniel's presence before he came into visibility in St. John 1:48. Jesus said before he ever knew Nathanael as a human body, he first saw him sitting under a fig tree in a vision and a dream. Jesus understood the power of imagination. Jesus saw things from a different dimension of consciousness, from his Christ consciousness. His disciples who loved him one time said, "Master, you cannot do this. How dare you talk to this Samaritan woman at a well? One, you don't talk to women. Secondly, you sure don't deal with those Samaritan people. They're not part of us." And Jesus goes, I forgot. I forgot I wasn't supposed to speak to her because she's a woman. I forgot I didn't speak to those Samaritans. See, you got to forget to remember. You got to forget what you were told about people who don't look like you. To remember you're one with them. You got to forget the old teachings of society and culture and religions that has put belief systems into your head with boundaries. Today, remember who you are. He said, before that Philip called thee, when you was under the fig tree, I saw you. What are you seeing today? Is all you're seeing what CNN is spitting out 24 hours a day? Every time you think you kind of want to move on and really be of use, they roll the tape again. They've got a rhythm of how to pull you back to where they want you to be. I'm asking you today to go beyond the veil of illusions and appearance and find the heart of divine purpose in all things. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy for me. I'm as human as anybody else. I'm a son of man, but in me is the Son of God. So how I see as a son of man is different than the way I see from the Son of God. So I see today unification under the fig tree. I see a peace that passes our understanding of how it could ever happen sitting under the fig tree. I see a time in which there's no more mistreatment of people that does not look like us. I see under the fig tree a time in which women will make the same wages that men do, and maybe more. I see a time in which gay people will be fully received and accepted as a creation of God's creation. Yes. That's under my fig tree. I came here a couple of years ago or whenever it was, and I looked at this place and I went, Oh my God, I just thought that house was so, it was just ashamed at what it looked like, that I had a vision. I looked at that old house, 109 years old or whatever it is. I told you the original great-grandson of somebody that owned this called me, that lived here first. Part of me said, wouldn't it be nice to just tear this thing down and build you a new, modern, nice building? But when I felt the firmness of the floors and the good bones of the house and the aesthetics of the house, and I saw beauty. And I put that under my fig tree and said, if I ever have a chance and I'm here, I'm going to transform that place, make it beautiful again. Same way here. What you're seeing on your fig tree is what you're going to produce. Are you following me? Oh, yeah. Before that Philip called thee, I saw you under the fig tree. I knew you and saw you then before you ever showed up. I imagined you into my existence. Oh, the power of imagination. Paul, bless his heart, sent me something. It was a quote, because he knew I was going to speak on this, and I love this. It says, when willpower and imagination collide, imagination always wins. In other words, imagination is stronger than hard work or persistence. Yes, what's going on is important, but it should not be all that's going on. All the persistence, all the work, all the demonstration will do what it's going to do. But we have to bring a transformation of human consciousness. We've got to see something different. We need a vision. For without the vision, we will perish. Charles Fillmore says all inventions are first pictured in the mind of the inventor. So we are a mental picture of everything we conceive, and our conception of God is no exception. He says the imagination will carry out an idea or sets of ideas that the I am reflects into it. Isn't that beautiful? Everything you see, look around, chair, building, human bodies, all started from an idea. Even you were an idea at first. Everything that's ever been invented, a car, telephone, computers, all first it was an idea in somebody's mind that was extended out into the world. This is how powerful the power of imagination is for us today. I'm closing with Paul's writings in the Bible as it's translated. It says, we all, with unveiled face, beholding in a mirror the glory of God, are transformed into the same image from glory to glory, even as from the Spirit. Let the veil come off your face. And see in everything the mirror of the divine and creation in the world of appearance. Treat it accordingly. Someone asked Mother Teresa, how do you go into the streets and hold these filthy people that are dirty and haven't bathed and have thrown up on themselves and all of that? She says, I only can do it because I only see the face of my beloved. Jesus for her was the face of her beloved. She saw the face of Christ in each and every person today.